Hi, I'm here with someone who is very special to me because I've known her since seventh standard. She's my childhood friend from Mayo back in our boarding school days, and Anandita. So she is actively involved in researching on critical minerals, etc. So, how about you introduce yourself? You know what you do for a living and all of that. So.
Sure, thanks, Sanjana. Really happy to be here. And I'm really excited that you're doing this. And I think it's a very, very interesting project that you've started. So I'm happy to help in whatever way possible. So, hi everyone, I'm Anindita. I work in at an Indian think tank called the Center for Social and Economic Progress. And I particularly look at India's critical minerals diplomacy with other countries, specifically for global climate cooperation and how India can achieve its green energy transition. So I've been looking at this for a while, and it's a really interesting and dynamic field. There's always something new happening. So yeah.
That's actually pretty cool. So I just want to, because I've been researching about critical minerals, especially rare earth minerals. So as you know, China has the biggest monopoly in the critical mineral, and because of that, the manufacturing is sort of under China's grip all over the world because they're sitting on so many critical minerals. So what is your opinion? Like, is there a way to break the monopoly, or it's just like people are being delusional about it, or is it actually possible or something?
Yeah, actually, that's, I think, one of the key drivers that has actually seen this whole geopolitical shift, specifically when the US and China had their issues with each other. And I think everybody realized the importance of these minerals. There has been a lot of research going on in this for a while, even in India. And I think the first instance for the importance of these minerals came up in 2010 when China had actually started export bans to Japan because of they had this issues in their seas with some fisheries and fishermen coming here and there. And I think that's when it initially had started. And as to if we can do anything about the monopoly that China has, I think China has been very visionary in when they started investing in this sector and this field. And I think that's something which has to do with their own policies and their own, how their governments work and thing. And I think trying to assume that the other countries can now come up with different technologies to overthrow that monopoly is going to be a little hard, not completely
Yes.
impossible. But I think there is a realization in most nations that you can't do completely without China. And even now, with India, like we have great import dependence on China, even though you
True.
access to a lot of these minerals, or you may be looking to have access to these minerals, the processing,
Yes.
manufacturing, recycling capacity, the technology is with China. And I think uh, there is a lot that we can achieve by also working with them. But obviously, at the same time, to ensure like the whole debate on, securing your supply chains, diversifying your supply chains, which were like issues that came up specifically with the pandemic. And we realized
Yeah.
how monopoly and dependence on just one country can lead to a lot of issues. And then specifically more recently with the war in Ukraine, I think
True.
when Europe and the US realized how resource dependency can actually lead to a lot of issues in their economy. So I think now there's this whole realization that, okay, you need to have multiple sources for your resources. So I think that's what is driving most countries. And I think everybody is going to be able to come up with their own solutions. We may not be able to completely dismantle the whole that China has, and I don't think there's need for that either.
Yeah. China plus one.
Exactly. So I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of potential, and obviously, like, not, I would not say cautiously, but being very aware of how you engage with certain countries and how you also develop your own technology, maybe indigenously or with other partners. So,
That's very interesting. I also wanted to ask you, so you have covered, or your colleague or you combined have covered the Modi's visit to Ghana, Accra specifically, and how Africa is sitting on 30% of critical minerals per se. So how do you think, like, was that a success? Is it, are we still to see? So what is your opinion on that?
So actually, my colleague, Dr. Veda Vaidyanathan, is the one who's covered a lot of this. She is an Africa expert. She has an entire paper out. So if anybody's interested
Yeah.
in understanding how India has been engaging in Africa, she's the go-to person for that. And she's the one who actually covered the Ghana visit. She's also been to Africa multiple times. She's visited a lot of these um, sites as well, mining sites. So, as to, I think the reason it was an important visit, which I think she also mentions in her article, is that Modi visited, like, this is a high level state visit to an African country after really, really long. So, he visited Namibia.
Yeah, I think after a decade or something, or I don't know, something it was mentioned.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the article I read.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue.
Yeah, no, it's so I think that automatically signals that the Indian state is looking to invest actively in Africa. And we've seen that with a lot of their different policies. We've seen how the MOU with Zambia has moved forward, how GSI, which is the Geological Society of India. I'm not very
Okay.
but yeah, so they are actively working in Zambia as well. They have mapping projects which are going to be starting there for minerals. We've seen an investment in Ghana. We've seen the expansion of a lot of the bilateral trade deals, moving beyond just things like gold into lithium, with Namibia as well, moving into other sources from uranium, moving into lithium and other battery chemistry
Yeah.
metals. So I think it has a lot of potential. India is very actively looking at Africa, and I think there is a lot that's going to happen. There's a lot of industry interest as well. And when
Yeah.
all of that is combined with specifically when the policy is looking at a certain place, I think automatically things start shifting. So I think there is a huge potential with Africa. Everybody's talking about it. And
Yeah.
League is coming up with another paper on this.
Oh, interesting.
So everybody can look out for it.
Yeah.
How the
I'll
private.
share it on as my story. It was very good to read. Even your articles that you have also written, they're very well researched, I would say. One more thing I want to ask you. So, one thing that was mentioned in that article that really caught my eye was that India's pitch to Ghana versus China's pitch to Ghana. So, how is it different? Like why will they pick India over, say, China? What is the difference in it?
Yeah, so I think there's a whole body of research on how China goes ahead with its may call it like development diplomacy, through the BRI,
Yeah.
or how they invest in other countries. So their model is very different from what India offers, and I think often a lot of these countries have witnessed what the Chinese model can do. I think we saw it very actively in Sri Lanka when the bank loans faltered and Sri Lanka went into debt a few years ago. Uh,
Yeah, true.
with the Hambantota port and all
Yeah.
things. So the Chinese model is more infrastructure driven. So what they do is that if they want to invest in, say, a mine, their pitch is that they will develop the infrastructure around it as well. So they'll develop the roads, they'll develop, you know, societies, housing, railway lines, and all of those things. That brings in a lot more economic uh, prosperity in that manner to a country. But the model of financing is very different from what India offers. So they often go through something which is known as debt financing. Um,
Okay.
Countries kind of like take loans from China and then they have to pay them back. Obviously, part of the project profits go to Chinese investors, the Chinese government.
Yeah.
But what often happens is that this kind of leads to what they call the debt trap. So
Correct. Yeah.
not able to come out of it. Also, when China comes in and builds up these plants and does all of these things, they also often get their own experts and Chinese people who come in and work there. So that
Mm-hmm.
often they're the ones who are actually doing everything. As opposed to this, the Indian model is more like technology, capacity building, institutional building. So it's a more long-term sort of strategy.
Sustainable model, you would say.
Yeah, in a way, a relatively more sustainable model. It's more in line with what they call the model of South-South cooperation. India comes from
Hmm.
own experience of development, where it realizes that certain countries have their own priorities that they want to focus on. So that's what India kind of brings in. It may not be as economically beneficial in the near term, but has more long-term
Yeah.
profits. We have better networks in a lot of these countries which have been developed over time. So the projects may be relatively more small scale, maybe not as big as like what a Chinese project in Africa may be with like massive rail developments along with other things. But
Yeah.
the Indian model is more of like technical capacity building, training. So we train like uh, citizens from those countries. So we have an ITech program, which is actually pretty well established. And we've been training a lot of foreign nationals in very specific technical uh, skill sets over the years.
Okay.
So yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that is the main difference. So I think for states, different states, it depends on
Yeah.
what they're looking for. And
Yeah.
both models exist; they're out there, and I think whatever works for different countries, that's what they go ahead with.
That's very interesting. I did not know so much about the difference in approach. So yeah, that's something really interesting. One last question that I want to end with is if you want to explain rare earths to a layman,
Hmm.
I know that they're very easily available like copper. It's just the extraction process which is quite expensive, and that's what makes it, difficult and expensive. So how would you put it to like a layman if, you want to sort of.
So I think one of the key differences in understanding what critical minerals are. So rare earths are a subset of the critical minerals. So there is no
Mm.
like official definition of what critical minerals are. States come up with their own, often which are economically and strategically important and have
Yeah.
less supply and supply chain issues and stuff like that. Obviously, every country has different lists of minerals. So that's why India has 30 on its critical mineral list, which came out in June 2023. Other countries have been
Okay.
for a while. So copper is a critical mineral that India has identified, which is often a critical mineral for multiple countries just because of its use in battery technology, EVs, and multiple other like green transition, also defense,
Yeah.
telecommunication. It's a very key
Yeah.
mineral, an element just for a lot of things. My colleague has again done a huge report on just copper. And
Okay.
Emma Pal. So if anybody's interested in that as well, you can always have a look. As opposed to that, rare earth elements are often divided into light rare earths and heavy rare earths, which again have very
Okay.
different uses. So rare earths are part of the critical mineral list. So most of the time, rare earths are all critical minerals. But
Okay.
just a
Got
second.
it.
Somebody at
Yeah.
the door. One second. Yeah, I am so sorry. It was somebody who was not meant to come here. It was for another person. So yeah.
That's
But
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
rare earths are again very essential for defense, electronics, and a lot of other things. And they're just found in very geographically specific areas. So, like you had mentioned in the beginning,
Correct.
China is
Yeah.
the key regions where you find a lot of these rare earths. Most of them are
Yeah.
rare earths, which are often not more important, but important for a lot of different technologies. Again, there's a lot of different layers and technical skills required to process them
Correct.
and then actually make them usable for the industry and stuff like that. India also has
Hmm.
access to rare earths. I don't know if you remember, but a year or two ago, there was a lot of discussion on how India had found rare earths in Jammu and Kashmir. And
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
I
so that
did.
had become a big news piece. There's also rare earths that have been found in Orissa and a few other parts of India. So India also
Did
has.
anything come about that? Like we read the headlines, but what about it? Like in the future?
So the thing with all of these mining operations and even like finding everything, there's a lot of research on this again, is that India has not done enough exploration. So now with the National Critical Minerals
Okay.
Mission and stuff, there's a lot of money going into just exploring and mapping India's geography as well. So
Okay.
there's just firstly a lot of that needs to happen to figure out what resources we
Hmm.
have and how they can be used. But beyond
Yeah.
that, just setting up of a mine takes up a lot of time. The government has come up with a lot of auctioning of mineral blocks. Uh,
Yeah.
but a lot of them have not gone ahead. There's a lot of like issues with that itself.
Yeah.
Colleagues have done work on that as well. So there's a lot of research in the Indian uh,
Yeah.
think tank community as well on just all of these different challenges that come about with setting up domestic mining operations, why things are not happening.
Hmm.
But often the time required for a mine to be commercially viable is at least 6 to 7 years or something. Even if you fast pace it, at least three
Oh,
to 4 years. So you may set up an
okay.
operation, but how much time will it take for the whole supply chain to develop, for you to be able to access things and then actually get them out? Then even if you do set up something, do you
Yeah.
actually have a market that requires these minerals?
Rare earths,
Yeah.
minerals. Yeah.
And then okay, then you say you set up like a processing plant or recycling and refine, like
Yeah.
up the whole supply chain. But then often people don't want to invest in it because there is no market. Now the
True.
market is developing in India. There's a lot of different companies who are looking to,
EVs are enhancing
yeah.
and
And just like looking at recycling, looking at batteries, looking at like
yeah.
a lot of things. So once the industry starts developing, then there is more of a desire and I think will just within
Yeah.
community to actually invest in like, all the whole operation because it's very capital heavy. So unless there is tangible profits that you're looking at, I think just moving and setting up a mine often takes quite some time.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And actually, somebody had very recently, I'd spoken to a journalist who came out with an article on exactly this, on the GNK mining operation, how India has been doing something. So there's a lot of, just because of the current geopolitical situation in Jammu and Kashmir,
Hmm.
just with our
Yeah.
issues and with Pakistan. So I think that's automatically somewhat of a sensitive area. So current
Correct. Yeah.
things are not as advanced, but things are happening. Things keep happening. It's only when there's
Yeah.
something which is completely like out of the blue or like new and is like eye catchy to it, does it make headlines?
Headlines are correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, so this was really extensive and I got to learn a lot from it. I hope everyone else also learns from it. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries, not at
And
all.
yeah, this was a lot of fun. We should do it again sometimes. Maybe we'll talk about, some other minerals found in, I don't know, say the US or something.
Yeah,
So
Southeast Asia has a lot as well. So there's things everywhere, things happening in India as well. There's a lot.
yeah, because this is the future now. Everyone is moving to EVs, and there is no denying everything. Like China was just very futuristic, I would say. We lack that futuristic vision at times. Now, of course, we're trying to catch on and all. So
Yeah.
let's see how
Yes.
it goes. But thank you so much for your insights. And yeah, you're so smart.
It's just you when you end up reading a lot, I think you just end up knowing quite a bit. So yeah, if everybody's ever interested in critical minerals, you can always look out for the work that we do. We have a lot of work.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the description, like your article link and everything. I'll put it in the description. So yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Lovely. Bye.